Hi, I'm Mel from The Money Study, bringing you another episode in You and Your Superannuation. And this is episode number 8, and it's all about salary sacrifice. Before we get into how it all works, there's my disclaimer. It's all about facts, it's all about figures, it's all about information, trying to help you educate all about superannuation, but it is not advice. Now, we already discussed concessional contributions in one of the earlier episodes, and salary sacrifice is just basically a concessional contribution. Instead of you putting money into a super fund and claiming a tax deduction utilising the form, then we're basically just going to get our employer to do it instead. So what we're doing here is we're basically going to our employer and saying, okay, I want to give up some of my income, and I want you to take that income and put it into my super fund instead. And I want you to put it in before I get taxed. This is what salary sacrifice is all about. The money is indeed going into your super fund before you pay your normal tax rate. Now you can see on the top left-hand corner of the screen there, these marginal tax rates. What rate are you paying? Are you somewhere earning more than $45,000 but under 120? Yep, you're in the 32.5 cents of the dollar tax bracket. Meaning for every extra dollar you earn, you pay tax at 32.5 cents of the dollar on it. You're losing about a third. If you're earning more than 120, you're into that 37% tax bracket, and hence losing 37% for every extra dollar you will you earn. And so it just comes down to which tax bracket are you in as to the effectiveness of this salary sacrifice. Let's go through an example here just to give us a bit more of an idea how this works. If we look at our little chart there, we can see that someone who does nothing, they've got a gross pay there of $90,000. They don't do anything as far as superannuation is concerned, but they pay tax on their gross pay of $21,517, meaning they get a take-home pay there of $68,483. So by doing nothing, they're getting paid 90, paying tax of 21.5, and they're benefiting by the net salary there of 68,483. Let's then compare that person to someone who then decides to say, okay, same salary, but I'm going to talk to my employer about doing some salary sacrifice. Now, your employer does not have to let you do salary sacrifice. That's the point. It's an agreement, and it can be changed in the agreements and so forth. But most employers these days will let you do it. And generally speaking, it's only the employers that don't understand how this works. I had an employer saying to me, I'm not letting my staff do salary sacrifice because I'm missing out on the money. No, that's not true. That is not true. It's the tax department that's missing out on the money. So how does this work? So here we've got someone who's decided to salary sacrifice $10,000, hence their employer is only going to pay them $80,000. So the other $10,000 is going to be sent by the employer to the super fund. Now, because the employer is now only paying them $80,000, the tax department only wants tax on $80,000. Now, tax on $80,000 is certainly less than tax on $90,000. And you can see there the tax bill has dropped to $18,067. So their take-home pay is $61,933. So even though they dropped their gross pay by $10,000, because of that difference in the taxation, then their take-home pay isn't $10,000 less. You can see there it's only $6,550 difference. So in theory, if you could afford to do 10, you can probably afford to do more in the regard that it's not going to feel like 10 because you're going to get the tax deduction. Now, of course, the $10,000, that goes into the super fund. But as we know from previous sessions, concessional contributions get hit with a 15% contributions tax. So out of the $10,000 that went into the super fund, as it went in from the employer, it loses 15%. So only $8,500 actually lands into the super fund. But the net benefit to this person is their take-home pay of their $61,933, the $8,500 that actually landed into their super fund, hence they have now got a net benefit of $70,433. So you can see there the difference is just shy of $2,000. So by contributing $10,000 as a salary sacrifice into their super fund, giving up that $10,000 as salary but having it as into super, they're literally $2,000 better off overall when they look at their combined net salary and what went into the super fund there. So not a bad little return on your money. And of course there's a little example on the left hand side there showing you that if a member, who's 50 and who's got say a $200,000 balance, the difference by the time they get 15 years later, if they were to do this, it's grown from 935 up to 1.2 mil. So quite a substantial difference is what that could do over time. Now, it's based on some assumptions there, 7%, which is a lot of the super funds have indeed done over the last 10 years. Not suggesting for one moment that's what's going to happen over the next 10, but you can certainly get the idea that getting this benefit of the extra 10 grand going into your super every fortnight is growing your overall wealth, but at the same time, you're getting this nice little tax deduction, paying less tax every fortnight. So it can indeed be quite a useful strategy, but I say before you jump into it, you really should talk to someone to ascertain whether it's really suitable for you on the tax bracket you're in. How old are you? What are you trying to achieve? And remembering that any money going into super is locked up until your preservation age. So there's a lot of ifs, buts and whatevers relating to salary sacrifice. We can't give you advice, but we can certainly guide you through how it all works and look at some numbers and so forth, so you can make a sensible decision whether that's something that you want to do. Book an appointment, we can have a chat. Talk to you on another session.